616 o'clock news with your hosts, Philip Kingston John, aka the comic book curmudgeon, and
Iain James Wood, aka I got nothing. Let's move on. Moving swiftly on. These intros are my forte.
We'll work on something. So, welcome back to the 616 o'clock news. If you've ever listened to one of the two existing episodes, then we need no introduction. If, on the other hand, you haven't, welcome. This is our podcast. It's kind of been rebooted. So this is version 2.0, episode 1, part 1 of our review of the year, 2017.
We're going to look at the first two comic book movies released this year, namely Fox's Logan and Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Logan, which, as you probably know, is the latest and final film with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, or if you want to give him more credibility, the Wolverine.
Indeed.
I've just watched it for the first time. Basically, I had no inclination to watch this based on the previous James Mangold Wolverine outing, and I have been coerced and persuaded into seeing it by yourself, but also my girlfriend Siobhan watched it recently and told me that I should see it, so I'm glad that I've now seen it. And I'm still kind of processing a little bit, but why don't you kick us off, Ian? Tell us what's your feeling about the film. You've just watched it again for, what, the fourth time?
Third time. And I guess the question, can 93% of critics be wrong? Yeah, kind of. No, it's the film's got great elements to it, I think. There's some really wonderful elements. Hugh Jackman is fantastic in the film. Patrick Stewart is wonderful. Whilst the film is, in a lot of ways, the film I've waited 17 years to see, Hugh Jackman in the role, finally unleashing Berserker Rage, that opening sequence is magic. Yeah, for me, it doesn't wholly work. By the time the clone of Wolverine, you can clone Rage, or you can clone Rage, or whatever fucking Richard E. Grant says, it was very polite of that rage-filled clone to let Patrick Stewart give his heartfelt soliloquy before he stuck his claws through his chest. How polite, you are a polite young man. In the same way that he politely waited for that fucking giant van to be dropped on him by Richter. Very polite claim, filled with rage. Made of rage.
Yeah, there was some polite waiting as well when the guys were chasing down the kids at the end. The kid was like, I'm going to use my powers now. Okay, I'll wait for you to use your powers on me. I won't shoot you with this gun that I'm pointing at you. Yes, some tactical waiting.
Some wonderful tactical waiting. Well, I just want to see what she's going to do. Go on, what's your power? Oh God, it's hitting me with tree bits. Oh no, and for some reason they're blowing me up. What the fuck? All these, nameless, shit-powered mutants that were, congregating.
Yeah, with some really shit powers.
Yeah. Horribly reminiscent of something
and no personalities. Yeah. Nothing distinguishable between them at all.
And almost hideously reminiscent of not just the worst superhero movie I've ever seen, but one of the worst movies I've ever seen, Wolverine Origins, where he had him freeing all those people, including a young Scott Summers, from the, X, I guess, what's it called? The Project X, or,
Yeah.
The
X. Weapon X.
Weapon X, that's it! Yeah. Fuck no, I can't believe we forgot that. We'll edit this out.
We're experts.
We're X-Men experts. We're shitting on a film. I don't think I can't even remember the name of Weapon X. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
These were some crap kids. And they're poor, Mexican nurses that clearly didn't make it to, Eden either.
Yeah, so I guess what we're zeroing in on, the plot holes that were very much apparent to me, and you've just picked up on a massive one, which is how did all the kids safely get there?
Indeed.
Ahead of Laura, who had Wolverine.
The
Wolverine, and for the most part, Professor X looking after her and helping her get there. How did everybody else make it? Good question.
James Mangold, if you're listening, which you probably aren't, please feel free to comment underneath.
Another thing that really bugged me was the fact that they were all supposed to have been brought up in this establishment in Mexico, right? But Laura was the only Hispanic, Spanish-speaking one of them.
Yeah,
surely they all would have had Spanish as their first language.
Indeed. Again, James Mangold, if you could get back to us on this front, given that, obviously you're making a film that is so far ahead of what superhero movies can possibly be.
So what Ian is alluding to there is the contempt-filled attitude that James Mangold has for the superhero genre.
Indeed.
Would you like to explain more where this comes from?
James Mangold is a man who believes, in spite of the fact if he looked at a movie release schedule, he could see that upwards of maybe 6 comic book movies get released a year, that dozens of comic book movies get released a year. But what he wants to make is not a comic book movie, but he wants to make a human drama. Because no other comic book movie focuses around characters.
Absolutely. Has no kind of human drama.
And like, I mean, obviously, we're in a year 2017 where I think a lot of people have said we're not making a comic book movie. You know, like this isn't a comic book. I think every comic book movie that's come out, we're not making a comic book movie. Like, be it Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, they're making a space family comedy drama or dramedy. You know, Wonder Woman, they're making a superhero movie which isn't like others because instead of a cock, the lead character has some mystifying piece of genitalia which doesn't extend from her body. And and obviously Spider-Man Homecoming, we're making a coming-of-age high school
and
comedy.
I guess it was, you know, with Ant-Man and stuff as the crime caper that was also a superhero movie.
When people talk about we're not making a superhero movie, all I can think of is they're talking about Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin with the Robin element stripped out. You know, because that's, you know, like, there's no room for Robin in the superhero movie. You know, is this what people are talking about? Like, oh yeah, it's Joel Schumacher. Well, when I say superhero movie, I mean Joel Schumacher's Batman movie if it was a standalone Batman movie. Mystifying. Like, a movie which doesn't exist is seemingly the standard bearer of superhero movies.
Oh, and on the subject of plot holes, just so that
let's bring it back to plot holes.
just so I can get these off my chest. Staying with that family in the ranches or whatever they were.
It was a lovely scene and stuff.
It was a lovely scene, but you know immediately when they invite you back for dinner, if you go for dinner, the bad guys are going to show up, they're all going to die. I guess they would have still had their water supply cut off by dicks. But they wouldn't.
Dickheads.
So they wouldn't have all been clawed to death by X-24. Yeah, like little kind of conveniences, like the fact that those coordinates were also written on the back of the photo.
Yeah.
But how did he even manage to get that?
I believe Laura would have dropped it at the farmhouse, and they would have done a really thorough recovery job from that farmhouse.
Yeah, she had strange double standards in terms of things that she certainly would never drop or let go of, such as her ball and her bag, except for the fact that she got out of the car and left them in the boot for Caliban to sniff at.
Indeed.
Again, that's just I know it's that itself is a slightly pernickety example, perhaps, but it still reflects an incongruity to me in the writing of it. You know, where does she learn to drive?
Yeah. But there were things I really liked about it. It was the ties back to the X-Men universe that weren't like horrible missteps. Like, they'd already made that, you know, allusion to the Liberty Island incident of the first X-Men movie, but having the Liberty Hotel and having Hugh Jackman look up at that kind of effigy of the Statue of Liberty. You got that 17 years of feels. And even like the fact that like Professor Xavier, the power which he's using, which he can no longer control, is the, you know, central premise of X-Men 2, which is a movie which I loved when it came out in, you know, like 2002 or 2003. Okay,
so talking about Professor X, like, I think I agree with you completely. Patrick Stewart was amazing in that. He was brilliant. And certainly when he died, the film ceased to be quite as good.
It drops in quality massively. And then you have the really kind of cheap reveal that Laura can speak because there's no longer a narrative means by which she can speak, which, was cheap as hell.
What do we feel about this idea that Professor X killed the X-Men?
I like it. I know we discussed it, and you felt like it should have been something which it was elaborated on and stuff. I kind of liked how it was teased out, though, particularly at the beginning with the kind of like, Logan, what did you do? And all that stuff, and then being slowly revealed, you know, on the radio broadcast after the scene in the casino, and, you know, kind of, it was reminiscent of the Westchester incident 7 years ago, where several people, including some of the X-Men, lost their lives, and all that kind of stuff. And then, obviously, then his heartfelt revelation, which, again, as we say, X-24 waited patiently for him to divulge before stabbing him in the chest. It kind of worked for me. It did.
Yeah, I suppose they were playing with your expectations. They were playing with people who, like me, might have had some expectation that it was in some way based on Old Man Logan, which, as anyone who's seen the film and read the comics knows, there's basically no correlation whatsoever.
Other than Logan being an old man.
Other than Logan being old.
No inbred Hulks.
No, sadly.
Oh.
I did see somebody on the internet, actually, Mr. Sunday Movies, who I quite like on YouTube. He was suggesting that instead of Fox making Old Man Logan, Marvel should have done it with Captain America, because they turned it to Old Man Steve or whatever.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
That would have been so awesome.
Because they own the rights to all those other characters, right?
Yeah, completely. And I mean, the fact that apparently originally Thor Ragnarok was basically Planet Thor.
Okay.
And then obviously then they said, well, you can have Hulk. So that's how the Planet Hulk, but it was going to be Planet Thor, apparently.
Okay, interesting. We should save this to when
we should,
yeah.
Let's just talk about Logan. Let's just talk about Logan.
So to go back to what I was saying about, or what we were saying about Professor X and that kind of reveal that Professor X had killed the X-Men, I was sure that there was going to be some kind of flashback to back in the day. I was certain of it, and I was kind of disappointed that I didn't see that, or didn't see something of how that went down. Especially because Wolverine, at the start of the film, is such a cynical version of himself. I was kind of horrified that he was ready to let Laura die, basically.
Yeah.
He was ready to abandon her. Which, the whole thing about Wolverine is that, you know, he's gruff on the outside.
He's a curmudgeon.
Yes, he's a curmudgeon.
With a heart of gold.
Much
like yourself.
Thanks, man.
The comic book conversion. Heart of gold.
I found it quite depressing that was where he'd got to, and I was hoping that we'd see something of what had put him in that place to start with.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that, you know, like, he is so cynical of Laura having mutant abilities, and he does believe it's a product of Charles's, you know, decline in mental health, which we saw for one scene and then not for the rest of the entire movie.
Yeah, he was fine after that.
Yeah, he was fine after, like, oh yeah, Taco Bell or some shit, you know, like, yeah, that he was fine. Other than obviously his seizures and stuff. But yeah, like, so the fact that he was so cynical about that, perhaps, and, you know, this girl, like, what, and he just didn't want to be involved. He's got his own problems to deal with. I kind of liked it. And yeah, it was kind of like, this is the point which Wolverine's reached, you know, that he doesn't care, you know, like, you know, when he's approaching the graveyard and he's like, oh, go fuck yourself or what have you, you know, like, but yeah, he really is like, I've got my own shit to be dealing with.
I think there's a difference between saying go fuck yourself to a woman who approaches him wanting help, to leaving a girl when he knows that they're after her, and that...
what seems to be the worst, an innocent girl who isn't a mutant, which he was happy to do. He was trying to drive off with Professor X. Yeah. Before we started recording, I said the film I wanted to see there, they should have stripped all the Chris Yost, Wolverine and the X-Men, X-23 nonsense out of it. Yeah. I know, obviously, they probably needed a franchise successor, which is why she was kind of in there and stuff.
But she's so young. Is that a possibility, do you think? Could they continue that series with her?
I don't think they do a standalone Daphne Keane Wolverine movie.
Or recast and set it 10 years later.
Yeah. But what I think they probably will do is, in some way, like in the same way they've brought Cable into Deadpool through time travel and all that stuff,
right,
have Daphne Keane appear in X-Force as X-23, and maybe have Deadpool be like, what the shit? I've waited all this time to be in a movie with Wolverine, and this is the Wolverine I get? And then maybe somebody I thought you were in a movie with Wolverine, and then go, you shut the fuck up about that, or something, you know, like, and like play it off as a kind of
itself, absolutely,
yeah. And then obviously earns this begrudging respect for Daphne Keane's Wolverine, and you'd be like, shit, you are the Wolverine.
I did think that scene that you alluded to when Charles had his seizure, that was probably my favourite sequence. I thought that was really good.
In the casino.
Yeah,
that was
and Wolverine like using the claws to drag himself along the corridor and then just clawing everybody in the head in a variety of different ways. Where can I put my claws now?
Through the face. The face
Through
one's
the eyeballs.
That's fucking awesome.
Under the chin.
And again, seeing Wolverine actually do this shit is wicked, absolutely wicked. And then I kind of even just love, you know, kind of like Logan, old Uber driver Logan, you know, like, give me that movie. The same way that when I watch Wolverine Origins, which is X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is a fucking piece of shit. It's
absolutely, yes.
Just, an abomination. There was like a moment where he's a lumberjack, and I was like, I want to watch a movie about Hugh Jackman, the lumberjack. I don't want to find out how he got his fucking jacket that he wears in the X-Men trilogy. Fuck, man. Seriously. That was awful. But Hugh Jackman, the lumberjack, I want to see that. I'm there. Put Hugh Jackman in a check shirt, a slightly open check shirt, cutting down some trees, living in a cabin. I'm there, with bells on.
I guess one question that I'd quite like to ask, which ties into this idea of whether X-23 could come back in time and the multiplicity of timelines, is do you think this is like as I know we have to put canon in air quotes when we're talking about the X-Men, but do you think like the Fox Studios anticipates this is canon for the X series?
I think it's probably canon until it's retconned, you know what I mean? And they've got a whole, I mean, the fact they're doing, you know, kind of X-Men movies, the next one's set in the 90s, Dark Phoenix.
Can't fucking wait.
Can't wait. Simon Kinberg's directorial debut from the man who filmed those terrible fucking reshoots of Fantastic Four and didn't make the film any better comes a brand new X-Men adventure from the man who wrote X-Men 3.
Yeah,
Thanks,
how
Simon.
the hell has he weathered that storm?
I don't know, man. He's just managed to stay. I mean, the fact he's a producer on like Deadpool, he's a producer on the Fox X-Men TV shows.
Yeah.
Like, how has he managed to just keep a... Because I'm sure he must have been in some way attached. Perhaps he wasn't attached to X-Men Origins Wolverine. And then they were like, fuck, man, we need Simon back because this is fucking awful. But like, how has he managed to maintain that position? And then branch out beyond that position to be like a producer on like Disney's Star Wars movies.
Yeah,
You know? But I guess it's, you know... I'm sure you bring something really valuable to the table, Simon.
We should definitely tweet this podcast at Simon Kinberg. Moving forward with the X franchise, I guess it's as fitting a send-off as any for Hugh.
No, it's a good stand-off for Hugh. I think it was like really heartfelt, and Hugh's performance is wonderful and dedicated, and he's amazing. As I say, the next comic book role I want Hugh Jackman to take on isn't a reprisal of the Wolverine. I want Hugh Jackman to play J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man Homecoming universe. I want him to be the MCU's J. Jonah Jameson.
You did announce that to me the other day. I think it's a genius idea. So sell it to the audience, and then we can start our Twitter campaign to make it happen.
J.K. Simmons is going to be impossible to replace by basically anybody because he nailed that role in Raimi's films. Great. But if you want to, if you want to differentiate it, you're going to need a heavyweight actor and you're going to need somebody with that kind of pathos. So why not to cast a gruff, cigar-smoking force of nature, which Hugh Jackman has been in the X-Men franchise, and he wouldn't have to work out for this. He wouldn't have to do anything. He'd just have to show up on set, one set for one day.
It'd be one day, sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And he could bank a load of money for it, and it would be great.
The fans would love it.
The fans would love it. I would love it, and I think you can't replace that role with anyone other than Hugh Jackman.
Hashtag Jackman for Jameson.
I love it, dude. I love it.
Okay, cool. So let's leave Logan there and move on to the second film in our 2017 roundup, which is Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Which we haven't just watched.
No.
So
our opinions will be possibly less correct.
That's correct. That's
Our
clear.
recollections will be less accurate. But possibly more considered, maybe.
Indeed. We've had time to really mull over the nuances and intricacies of the movie. So, dude, what's your take on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2?
So, I was a big fan of the first one.
Indeed.
So, as the comic book curmudgeon, I famously don't like any films. But I do really like Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's awesome and really I love the imagination on show and the diversity of the characters, the humour, the look of it, everything. So Guardians of the Galaxy 2 started off very strongly, I thought.
Oh, definitely.
And even jokier than before. And most of the jokes landed. I was loving it. There was a point at which my attention began to wane. We've spoken before of how comic books seem kind of fated to repeat the same conclusion, which is basically a complete CGI fest where it feels like a cartoon because there's so little real actors or real acting or emotional exchange happening that I get lost in it and I turn off. And it seemed to go on forever. Kurt Russell, one of my favourite actors from Big Trouble in Little China and The Thing. I thought he was wasted. What they did with Yondo was really weird. I'm not sure if I'm kind of happy with that.
I may not be your father, but I'm your daddy.
Yeah.
I can't remember the line
So
exactly.
they tried to make it this kind of heartwarming acceptance that he was looking for a father figure all along and he'd had one. But Yondo fucking kidnapped him and tortured him.
Tortured? Well,
beat him.
beat him, yeah. Certainly beat him. But at least
Subjected him to physical abuse.
Yeah. At least he didn't let the crew eat him. And they never needed no turn before! As he succinctly puts it in the first film. And maybe he was just trying to prepare him for life as a Ravager or something. If he get tough love,
like in ancient Sparta.
Indeed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's space, and the rules are different out there.
Yeah, maybe. But that was my feeling.
crikey. So yeah, I personally, I love the intro, you know, that kind of like...
Yeah, I agree, that was
one-take
fantastic.
group dancing, you know, kind of like, his skin's impenetrable, I'll have to attack him from the inside. I'm Drax, what? How's it going to be any less thick inside? And all that stuff. Gold. You know, then obviously the stuff with the gold people and Elizabeth Debicki.
Yeah,
who's
that was really good.
And Ben Browder making a cameo as a Farscape fan. That was you know, like, who is Browder? So yeah, that was kind of cool. And then obviously that kind of space chase, which I like spaceships. I like Drax hanging out of a spaceship, shooting things, you know, like, I'm very easy to please. Where I felt it kind of like started to lose me was then when they kind of fragmented the team, so that dynamic was kind of broken down and stuff. And like the first time I watched it, I was very much like, it's almost like they didn't have anything for Rocket and Groot to do. So that's why they kind of separated them off onto the Ravager ship with Yondu.
Yeah.
And obviously Nebula and all that stuff. And then that way they could just focus
Nebula
on...
was great.
Nebula was fantastic.
Yeah.
Karen Gillan's amazing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
seriously.
I mean, full disclosure, I hated her in Doctor Who.
Me too.
But,
I think she was awful.
Yeah.
Not her, but the character of Amy Pond
indeed.
was just hateful.
Yeah. But she's been fantastic in both the Guardians films, and especially in the second one. She came into her own.
I'll concur. I couldn't agree more. Like, yeah, magnificent. And that scene between her and Gamora after her kind of ship crashes and stuff was beautiful, man.
Yeah,
you know?
really good.
Just talking about how Thanos punished her for, you know, Gamora's success in a sense, and that's where this resentment comes from. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. So, you know, there were moments of that film which I absolutely loved. But yeah, that fragmentation. But watching it the second time, it actually felt far more cohesive and coherent, and I liked the fact that they split up the team. It gave Rocket a chance to grow. Obviously the stuff with, you know, like Baby Groot going and getting various items that aren't Yondu's new fin and stuff was fun as hell. And then the whole escape from that ship was brilliant, you know, with the kind of like using the gravity drives and all that stuff.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just felt it was a little bit too smug as a whole. It was obviously kind of very pleased with itself off the back of how much of a success the first one had been. Just overstaying its welcome slightly when it could have been leaner. Like the fact that James Gunn's brothers, like, it was a fun cameo in the first one, but to pump him up to such a prominent character, and I just didn't think that really worked.
I kind of love Sean Gunn, not just from James Gunn's other movies, but I'm a big fan of the Gilmore Girls, where he plays a character called Kurt. So for me, that was quite pleasing, you know. And even though it was, you know, you said smug, it was so earnest. It was so like, I don't know, far more overly earnest, I'd say, than the first film. You know, particularly with like
overly earnest being
overly earnest, perhaps being the thing.
Word,
like you killed my mum.
But that's what I mean in terms of that kind of smug self-satisfaction. It's like, oh, we've got something meaningful to say about parenthood and all of that stuff. Yeah.
No, I get what you mean. But it was like, I don't know, man. It resonated with me. And I think it was like made with love and passion. Whereas obviously I'm talking about James Mangold being like, he doesn't like superhero movies. He's the worst human being that's ever lived. Like, James Gunn, he loves this film. And I felt the love, man. And if I can feel the love, I think, you know, it brings the feels.
I agree. I agree. I could feel the love.
Given that the deal's kind of fallen through, but I'm still like, there's part of me which will never give up hope that, like, Silver Surfer and Galactus and the Fantastic Four, but mainly Silver Surfer and Galactus, if Marvel got those characters back, I think that would wildly reshape what Galaxy of the Guardians Volume 3 is. And given that...
Galaxy of the Guardians.
Galaxy of the Guardians.
Yes.
Volume 3. Yeah, that Galaxy of the Guardians, I liked that. I can't believe some things that come out of my mouth. I just trip over my words in my own excitement, particularly when it's about Marvel reacquiring right to their characters back, you know.
But there is precedent for, like, making deals for, like, one or two characters,
exactly.
right?
Ego the Living Planet was because, you know, like, they wanted to change Negasonic. So...
For listeners there.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Fox wanted to change her powers in the Deadpool movie, and so they gave Marvel back the rights to Ego the Living Planet. He was played by Kurt Russell and was a big old planet with a face right in that CGI ending that Phil hated, and I kind of liked. Give me a planet with a face, give me spaceships, give me explosions, give me Baby Groot with a bomb. I'm happy. I'm walking out of that cinema going, that was money well spent. Pre-ordering the Blu-ray while I wait for the post-credit stingers. Although, frankly, with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, didn't have to wait very long because there was like 5 of them, so you got like a couple of credits and then boom, another scene.
But that's an interesting point where you're saying about if I think we've spoken before about how much we both love Silver Surfer as a character.
Yeah.
And it would be amazing to see him in Guardians in any way, shape, or form, however small a role.
Yeah.
It would just be amazing to see him there. Galactus needs to be a terrifying threat, right?
Which is why we should have Silver Surfer introduced as the Herald of Galactus. Doing it in a Guardians movie so that threat can then move to Earth. So we can effectively have the Guardians almost fail to contain that threat. But like Silver Surfer's experiences with the Guardians is what makes him kind of change side when he arrives to Earth, because he's conflicted by the end of that experience, But it's just a threat that the Guardians by themselves can't contain.
Yeah.
And to build that for another Avengers movie. But what's kind of fascinating about that is that apparently, back when the rights to Daredevil, again, I'm tripping over my words in excitement, but back when the rights to Daredevil were going to revert to Marvel, and Fox had this kind of like pre-production idea with Joe Carnahan?
Oh, yeah.
The guy directed Liam Neeson Punches Wolves, and he was going to do a 70s set, kind of gritty Daredevil. Marvel offered Fox an extension on Daredevil if they could have back Silver Surfer and Galactus.
Oh, really?
Now, given that Marvel have let Fox develop The Gifted, which the pilot was really good, they used the X-Men as a ringtone. It was pretty cool. And Legion, which is superb. Given they've let Fox develop those TV shows, maybe that Daredevil deal has finally gone through and Silver Surfer and Galactus have come back to the MCU.
Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be amazing. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3... Guardians versus Silver Surfer and Galactus. Fucking take my money.
Yeah.
To paraphrase.
Because it's all going to be post Infinity War, right? So the Thanos thing will be wrapped up.
So they'll be looking for the next big threat.
Which could be the Skrulls.
Which could be the Skrulls as they're being introduced in Captain Marvel, and I think a Secret Invasion movie could work really well. Like, fucking do it like as the arc. Like each of these like separate movies, one of the characters is a Skrull.
Yeah.
And have that maybe revealed post-credits in each of those films. So it's like, oh crap. And each of those characters that have had a major influence on what the character's done during that film, be it for better or worse, and then build it towards a Secret Invasion Avengers movie. That would be phenomenal. A Captain Marvel back on Earth, like, I've seen this before. Like, not necessarily using that voice.
Is that what Captain Marvel's going to sound like?
That's what Brie Larson's going to sound like. It's the reason it's taken so long to get that film off the ground, is Brie Larson's really been where she's been smoking 40 cigarettes a day and, just destroying her larynx to try and get that gruff kind of...
Inspired by Christian Bale.
Yeah. I've seen this threat before. Jesus. What happened to your voice? Hopefully that's what's going to happen. But by the same respect, I'd love to see a Galactus Avengers movie, or again, if there were all those rumours that maybe the Fantastic Four rights had reverted for this TV deal, imagine a Doctor Doom Avengers movie, man.
Yeah.
Build Doctor Doom up build Latveria up over the course of several movies as a viable threat to the West, and then have just Doctor Doom unleash fucking havoc in Avengers.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yes, I mean I think we've talked at length before about how much it would just be brilliant to have Doctor Doom back in the fold. He would be such a, because I think we've discussed. I'm not sure you completely agree with me, but I take the more conventional line that the MCU has no good villains.
Outrageous.
apart from Loki, but I think even Loki, they've kind of run out of ideas of what to do with him.
Come on, man! I loved Loki and Ragnarok. But we'll talk about Ragnarok later, obviously.
We shall.
But yeah, I think the MCU's got some great villains, and even this year, like Keaton, for me was great, and it could.
Well, yeah,
but
absolutely.
Again,
we'll talk about Keaton with Spider-Man.
But yeah, given that we've kind of talked about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but mostly Fox-owned Marvel cosmic villains. That company whose movie we shat on just before talking about, they own all the best villains we want in the MCU. But that wasn't the reason we shat on Logan.
No, absolutely not. That's different reasons. Okay, so just to wrap up on Guardians Volume 2 then, excited about the future of the cosmic MCU, excited to see Guardians interacting with the Avengers.
Indeed, very, very.
Which is what we've got on our hands for Infinity War. Looking forward to Guardians Volume 3. Right, well that maybe wraps that up for our first instalment of our review of the year 2017.
Indeed, indeed.
We hope you enjoyed listening to it. If you have anything to tell us, anything we've missed, anything we've got wrong, which is just impossible to consider.
We're the two people who couldn't even remember the name of the Weapon X program. Admittedly, Phil remembered it before I did. Yeah. Tell us if you think any of our opinions might be slightly incorrect or, somewhat subjective. But yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully catch you for part 2.
Okay. Bye-bye.